Good day, senior high school students, and welcome back. I am your online math teacher, Ma'am Karine. I am so glad that you are here to join us in discussing the lesson in statistics and probability. Our lesson today is about mean and variance of probability distributions. For our objectives, number one, illustrates the mean and variance of a discrete random variable. Number two, calculates the mean and variance of a discrete random variable. Number three, interprets the mean and variance of a discrete random variable. And number four, solves problems involving mean and variance of probability distributions. In this lesson, we're going to define mean in a probability distribution. Mean is the sum of the products formed from multiplying the possible values of x with their corresponding probabilities. It is also known as the expected value of x, or in other references, it is also known as the average value of all the outcomes. The symbol for the mean is mu. Mean is considered as the center of the random variable's probability distribution. Another, variance. It is the measure of spread or dispersion of the values of a random variable from the mean. This is the measure on how far the score is spread out from the center or from the mean. The symbol used for the variance is sigma squared. Let's have example number 1. Students were asked to estimate the length in inches of a table. The errors in the estimated value were recorded and tabulated as follows. In the table, we have x as the errors in estimating the length of a table. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, with its corresponding probabilities, which are 0.25, 0.10, 0.30, 0.15, and 0.20. In example number 1, we're going to find the mean error and determine the variance and standard deviation. Let's use the first method in solving for the mean and variance by constructing a table. In the first two columns, we have x, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and its corresponding probabilities. 0.25, 0.10, 0.30, 0.15, and 0.20. From one of the properties of the probability distribution of a discrete random variable, that the sum of the probabilities is equal to 1. So we have here 1 or 1.0. To get the mean, we have to get the summation of the product of x and the probability. So from here, on the third column, we're going to multiply the first x and then its corresponding probability to get the value here. 3 times 0.25, that is 0.25. I mean 0.75. 4 times 0.10, that is 0.40 or 0.4. 5 times 0.30, that is 1.50 or 1.5. 6 times 0.15, that is 0.9 or 0.90. 7 times 0.20, that is 1.40. So here, getting the sum, that is 4.95. We can say that 4.95 is the mean error of example number 1. Again, when we say mean or getting the mean of a probability distribution, all you have to do is to get the summation of the product of x and its corresponding probability. 4.95 is the mean. Next, For the variance, we have to compute first for the square of the quantity of x minus the mean, or yung nakuha nating mean, which is 4.95. So in this value, or in this space, we're going to minus or get the difference of the first x and then the mean. 3 minus 4.95 square, that is 3.8025. 4 minus 4.95 squared, that is 0.9025. 5 minus 4.95 squared, that is 0.0025. 6 minus 4.95 squared, that is 1.1025. 7 minus 4.95 squared, that is 4.2025. In this column, we don't need to get the summation because these values will be multiplied to its corresponding probability, which is in this column. 3.8025 times 0.25, that is 0.950625. 0.9025 times 0.10, that is 0.09025. 0.0025 times 0.3 or 30, that is equal to 0.00075. And then this value multiplied to 0.15, that would be 0.165375. And this value multiplied to 0.2 or 0.20, that is 0.8405. So here, to get the variance, we have to get the summation of the last column. That is 2.0475. Your mean is 4.95 and the variance is 2.0475. Now, let's proceed to method number 2. What if we don't want to construct a table of values kasi medyo madami yung numbers inside of it? Take note of the probability distribution, example number 1. We're going to apply this formula. The mu equals the summation of the product of x and its probability. So isa-isahin natin, mu is equal to 3 times 0.25 plus 4 times 0.10 plus 5 times 0.30 plus 6 times 0.15 plus 7 times 0.20. Get the total using your scientific calculator, that is equal to 4.95, which is also equal to the first mean, yung nasa table. For the variance, let's take note of the probability distribution in the first example, that is sigma squared equals the summation of the quantity of the product of the quantity x minus mu squared and then the probability. For the sigma squared or the variance, that is equal to, isa-isahin natin dito, open parenthesis, 3 minus the mean from the previous slide na nakuha nating mean, 4.95, and then squared, multiplied to the probability of 3, plus 4 minus the mean, yung nakuha natin kanina, square, times 0.10, plus 5 minus the mean squared, multiplied to its probability, plus 6 minus 4.95 squared, multiplied to 0.15, plus 7 minus the mean squared, multiplied to 0.20. If you're going to input this in your calculator, medyo mahaba-haba siya. So just first get the summation of 3, 4, and then 5 para mahati. Kasi masyado yung mahaba sa calculator. Hindi yan kaya ng calculator. And then, pagdating dito sa close parenthesis, whatever, kung ano yung nakalagay dito, yun po yung i-input nyo sa calculator. And then, until sa close parenthesis, And then i-equal sign nyo na, and then plus na naman. And then continue, open parentheses, then from 6 up to 7. And then equal sign in your calculator. Final answer, sigma squared is equal to 2.0475. This is the variance. This is also your value, same with the value in method number 1 for the variance. So, ano ba yung mas madali? Method number 1 or method number 2? For the standard deviation, all you have to do is to get the square root value or square root nyo lang yung variance na nakuha ninyo. Sa calculator, merong square root na symbol and then equal sign. The standard deviation is 1.43. From example number 1, the probability distribution is noted and we have solved for the mean. That is 4.95. We have defined mean as the expected value of x or the average value of all the outcomes. This is considered as the center of the distribution. So if you are going to locate the mean 4.95 in the probability distribution, that is near or that is close to 5 here. Variance, that is equal to 2.0475. Through the standard deviation, we can now determine on how far or on how spread the score x to the mean or from the mean. That is 1.43. Let's have example number 2. The distribution shows the recorded number of new cases in thousands, rounded off to the nearest thousands, in the Philippines from March 1 to 16, 2021. What is the mean and variance of the number of new cases? In the table, as the probability distribution, we have the number of new cases, 2, 3, 4, 5, in thousands. Its probability, respectively, 0.25, 0.38, 0.12, and 0.25. Let's use method number 1 in solving for its mean. We are going to complete this table to compute for the mean and variance. For the first two columns, we have x as the number of new cases and p of x as its probability. The total or the summation of p of x is 1.0 or 1. To compute for the mean, we're going to get the summation of the product of x and its probability. For the first one, we have 2 times 0.25, that is 0.5. 3 times 0.38, that is 1.14. 4 times 0.12, 0.48. 5 times 0.25, that is 1.25. The sum of this is 3.37, which is the mean of example number 2. To compute for the variance of example 2, we're going to get first the square of the difference of x and mu, or the mean computed. The first, 2 minus 3.37 squared, that is 1.8769. 3 minus 3.37 squared, that is 0.1369. 4 minus 3.37 squared, that is 0.3969. 5 minus 3.37 squared, that is 2.6569. We don't need to get the summation of this. All we have to do is to multiply each value in this column to its probability. That is 1.8769 times 0.25. That is 0.469225. 0.1369 times 0.38, that is 0.052022. And then get the summation for the given values or the computed values, that is equal to 1.23, approximately 1.23. So here, the mean is 3.37 and the variance or sigma squared is equal to 1.2331. In method number 2, we have to add the product of x and p of x. 2 times 0.25 plus 3 times 0.38 plus 4 times 0.12 plus 5 times 0.25. In your calculator, just input all the numbers and included the parentheses, you can get 3.37. Same with the previous slide, the value of mean. For the variance, applying the formula, you can have here sigma squared is equal to the square of the difference of 2 minus 3.37 times its probability, which is 0.25, plus 3 minus 3.37 squared times 0.38, till 5 minus 3.37 squared times 0.25. Kung hindi na kaya ng calculator, just input first the first two terms and then equal sign plus the last two terms. The value of sigma squared or the variance is approximately 1.23 or exactly 1.2331. For the standard deviation, just get the value or the square root value of the variance, that is 1.11. We're going to interpret the values for the mean given the probability distribution. The mean is the center of the probability distribution. Therefore, if we're going to locate 3.37 in the distribution, that is between 3 and 4 in this table. For the variance, we have approximately 1.23, and through the standard deviation 1.11, we can determine the measure on how spread the value of x from the mean. So the average value of the number of new cases is 3.37. It's now your turn. Compute for the average number of typhoon entering the country per month and also get the standard deviation given the probability distribution.